it was so easy for him, and that fact was his twisted proof that he was not better. For him, it was a constant struggle. Should he reject himself and become better, or should he reject better and become himself? Was there any way at all for the two of them to rest in peace? He had no answers. But surely, if Ushimiya Beller had sat here and read these stories, he would have been deeply angered. So, if he did not feel such emotions, he was not that person. He could hear Yukuko standing up to leave, and moments later, felt her hand on his shoulder. Your head must be hurting terribly. Take some medicine and take it slow. Yes. Sorry. You don't need to apologize. Everything we're doing for your sake. My own sake. He repeated Ikuko's words back to himself. She was right. For as long as he cannot remember that day, there will always be a gap in his memory that will keep his bound to his past. He was sure that Ushimiya Beller also wished to learn the truth of that day. Maybe that was what both of them had in common. So, no matter what, when Toya was working towards discovering the truth, whether it be writing or reading forgeries, he felt at ease. Because he was doing it for himself. Maybe this is why he's so immune to the agony of these stories, so that Beller can also learn the truth. For both of their sakes. You know, I'm loving Ikuko in this situation. You know, we've had these glimpses of moments in episode 8 of when Ikuko took Toya in, and slowly but surely we're discovering that both of them are writing stories together. Like, for example, that moment where Ikuko discovers this new forgery, like, on the internet. It's like, interesting. And that is when Toya ends up with these headaches for, like, the first time. That is when the struggling between this new Toya and the past Beller has begun. And afterwards, they have begun, well, no, they wrote stuff before, I think. No. Details. The point is, like, it's nice to see, like, these moments of struggle and their experiences as writers, like, between Toya and Ikuko, and how they view, like, these forgeries to begin with. It's nice to see some interpretations of this, like, more. And it's very nice to see how compassionate Toya is for, like, for Ikuko is for Toya's situation. Like, she doesn't want to force Toya through this. Yeah, she has her own interest, but at the same time, she doesn't want Toya to be hurt in the process through this. Like, she's helping him recover. That can't be. George and Jessica too? Rosa, who had only just arrived at the mansion, was met by the others on the first floor. She had to sit down to deal with the news. 6 had been found dead, after all, and the culprit behind their deaths are still on this island. Natsuki and Eva both sat on the chairs in the living room, each wielding a shotgun they had brought to defend themselves. Alright. After all, the culprit still roams free on the island. Well, they're technically rifles, but yeah. Lock the 3 rooms where the corpses were. No one should disturb them until the police arrive. Of course, I understand. Rosa still spoke in a shaky voice, holding Maria's hand, who sat by her side quietly. So you mean to say there's a murderer on this island, and he already killed 6 of us without anyone knowing? Goda asked out loud, but no one wanted to answer, until Batter slammed the table with his fist, breaking the silence. Who would do something like this? What kind of a messed up monster would not only murder people, but also set up such a cheap show? It must be the same person from the letter. The person who claims to be Beatrice. The hell with Beatrice! If Granddad is so busy with his bullshit of magic and witches, he should come down here and explain himself right away. I agree with Ballerkunen about speaking with Father. I believe we need to meet Father, notify him, and check on his well-being as well. Father's room is the safest place in the mansion. It has an auto lock and can only be opened with a special key. I believe that for him to stay in his room for the time being is the best choice for him. There's no need to disturb him. No need to disturb him? My husband and son were just murdered! So were mine, Eva-san. There was a tense silence in the room once again. No one knew what to offer, or what to do. Eventually, Better broke the silence again. Isn't Granddad the one obsessed with the witch and Beatrice? Putting that giant portrait and the epitaph in the middle of the mansion. Maybe he'll know what's the meaning of it. You know, maybe he even plays along with it. The bastard. Ballerkunen, you can't blame Father for something like this. He would never! I can confirm Father didn't leave his room yesterday. So he can know for certain he wasn't involved with this. Yeah, there's the paper trick that Eva does. Confirm? May I ask how you know it, Eva-san? Yesterday evening, before he returned to the guest house, I passed by Father's room and tucked a piece of paper in the door. Before I returned to the parlor, I passed by Father's room once again and attempted to reach out to him. He didn't answer, but the paper was still there. Are you telling me you tried to reach Father by yourself? That's a very weird thing to do. Why would you do something like this? Stop prying in things that are not related to you. No, I'm actually very willing to share. You're studying law, right? Maybe you have some interesting insights to give us. Studying law, Nissan. Is it really the time now? I mean, Klaus Nissan and Rudolf Nissan were both murdered. Maybe he's studying to become a defense attorney or a prosecutor. That's correct. I study law. I don't think I shared my reason for it though. Virgilius straightened in his seat, wearing a serious expression. This world is filled with criminals, and many of them manage to escape punishment just in the last moment. The crime's soon forgotten. I want to be there and stop them from escaping it. Even if only a single person who deserves to be punished and judged will be brought to judgment by my hands, I shall be satisfied. Alright. A little bit of a edgeworth there. Nazi cowered in her seat, feeling a cold shiver running down her back. Feeling a cold shiver running down her back. Was he looking at her? He was certainly looking at her. How can he call this justice? What happens here isn't justice, it's... However, the objective right now is to stay alive, act carefully, and be ready for any attack. I also want to catch the culprit, but deducing based on emotions is pointless and dangerous. It becomes subjective and pulls you away from reality. You'll end up dying reality the way you want, and it'll be dyed in red when your emotions control you. You're in pain and subjectively hurt. Of course you want to find the culprit as fast as possible. However, you let your emotions take over, it'll only cause even more harm. As he spoke, Eva's tense shoulders slowly relaxed, tears going down her face again. You're right. You're right, Virgilius-kun. I want to catch the culprit right away. But if I stay like this, I'll not be able to think straight and I'll make mistakes that I'll regret. The only thing we can do is wait and be ready to catch the culprit if they try to act again. I also want to chase them and find them. But Yusan is right. It will only cause us to argue more about put us in danger. Are we all here right now? It'd probably be the safest to stick together as much as possible. Wasn't there the other boy servant, Kanon? Where is he now? I did see Kanon-kun this morning, but I haven't seen him since. I can go looking for him. I believe he's supposed to be in the servant room. Do so, and be careful on your own. Natsuhi gave Shannon a serious expression despite the words of concern, making Shannon hang down her head. You know, this is something that that I actually thought of like episode 5 onwards, and I'm reminded of that because of Shannon right over here. You know how we talked about Balor's objectivity and all that, and how magic like is not supposed to happen while Balor is in the same room because of the objectivity rule that we talked about, and that would include like the culprit like being two people at the same time in the same room. Like if we're talking about a person that is disguising themselves as other people, you shouldn't meet two people at the same time. So if I'm to think about Virgilius being another persona, and with the objectivity rule, Shannon and Virgilius should not be in the same room. So, yeah. It's kind of the same breaking of the rule that happened in like episodes 5 onwards, where there were situations where we had Shannon and Kanon in the same room, when there was also Balor. That's still something that I have to think about a little bit more, about this whole objectivity kind of thing. We kind of threw it like away because we had other priorities when it comes to episodes 5 onwards. It wasn't a figuring out how to do the tricks behind the magic and all that anymore. It was a lot more complex from episodes 5 onwards. So we kind of threw that away. So, yeah. It's still something that I have to think about these days. I think it has something to do with like some stories being written by Beatrice, while other stories being written by Toya, / having like Ben Costello and Lambda Delta in the mix, that some rules have been changed in process. So yeah, thank you for your concern, Better-sama, but I'll be okay. You'll be fast, so I'll be back before you'll notice. I think like one explanation for it would be that by the time episode 5 came in, Balor was completely different from the Balor that we had in the first episode and all that, where magic is something that Balor has started to think about more and more, emotionally speaking, to try and understand Beatrice, like after the whole ordeal with episode 4. So in that sense, that kind of rule kind of went away and all that. Shannon bowed her head politely before exiting the room with light. Fast footsteps, leaving Balor with a small frown. So I guess in that sense, because of that explanation that I gave right now, I guess it kind of doesn't fit with episode 3, because it's a little bit too early for that. But who knows? Maybe an explanation would be that Virgilius is not a persona of Beatrice, and that he is a completely different person in similar fashion to Erika. So yeah, we shall leave that discussion for a different day. It felt wrong to let her go by herself. It was definitely dangerous to go by herself in such a situation. Before he could make up his mind whether to chase the girl or not, a laugh echoed in the room, alarming the people sitting down. It was Maria, who had been quiet up until now.
Trying to catch the culprit is useless. After all, the culprit is a witch. She could go for any keyhole or disappear as soon as you approach her with your anti-magic toxins. But it won't be for long. Soon enough, she'll be strong enough to take us all to the Golden Land.
Maria, this is not the time for these things. Stop it right now. I think you should let her, Rosa-san. If this child's coping mechanism for such horrid events is to believe it's done by a witch who has good intentions, I don't think we can judge.
Virginia doesn't believe. He's always the one making Beatrice disappear. Your presence is making her weaker.
Also, here's the thing. Something that I have to bring up here as well when it comes to Maria and Beatrice. The way that it is explained in the story, like when it comes to how Maria views Beatrice, is that this person could change their clothes however they want. Like, Beatrice could disguise themselves as Shannon, but to Maria, that's still Beatrice because of the way that Shannon, for example, would act in similar fashion to Beatrice. It is the same person. Like, in Maria's eyes, like, no matter how they look, it is the personality and the voice and how they carry themselves that, in Maria's eyes, it is still Beatrice. Whether it is, whether at that point it's Shannon or the actual Beatrice or somebody else. So, in that sense, it is kind of interesting that Maria views Virgilius in such a distasteful, like, hateful way. To the point where she wouldn't think that this is Beatrice. So I guess there is this, this is like a counterpoint towards thinking that Virgilius is a persona of Beatrice. Because otherwise, Maria would have been, wouldn't have been as hateful to this person. So, I don't know. Oh, so now I'm making the culprit cower away. I mean, then again, it's a very drastic personality to Maria. So you could say that Yasuo is doing a very good job of pretending to be someone else that is not filled with Beatrice's aura, to the point where Maria would see this person as somebody completely different. Tell me more, Maria-chan. It'd be great to hear.
Because of you, Beatrice struggles to revive. Because of you, she's like this.
How interesting. Can you tell me what I did in particular? I'll make sure to keep it up. Yu-san, that's enough. Weren't you the one who said you shouldn't disturb her way to deal with it? Yeah, this is a different turn. Virgilius sank into his seat, a hint of impatience on his face. It's true that he had said that finding the culprit right now was not the right thing to do, that it would be smarter to wait and be ready for an attack. But he couldn't help but keep thinking. Think. This is a game of deduction. If you stop thinking, you lose. If you stop thinking, you die. Alrighty then. Shannon's footsteps echoed in the corridor on the way to the servant room. He had a gloomy feeling of loneliness, emptiness, and death. You know, it makes me think of the second Twilight. The two who shall be apart. I guess technically speaking, they still have like Shannon and Kanon. The two personas who shall be split apart at that point. Shannon slowed down her footsteps, taking a deep breath and closing her eyes. Both George and Jessica had died. And it was very possible that Kanon didn't even know about the horrible events yet. That he didn't know Jessica had been killed. The thought of having to deliver the news to Kanon made Shannon's heart feel heavy. After all, her own heart was heavy too. Her right hand clenched into her left one. Right now, there was nothing on it. While she had wanted to demonstrate the symbol of love between her and George in public, she had also been afraid. Afraid that if she had been arrogant enough to wear something like that, he'd only have brought misfortune. That a piece of furniture like her hadn't deserved such unimaginable happiness. And now, she was right. After all. Jiroji had died. That's another mistranslation, like grammar mistake there. She had been arrogant and had behaved as if she'd had all the time in the world, and that she'd had the right to linger with her thoughts, or to consider herself worthy. So perhaps no one else should be allowed to see that. It was an intimate moment shared between them in her heart, and would not be shared with anyone else. It was a moment to think of like a sweet, forgotten dream. It was a dream of happiness, a dream of life as a human, even if it was a selfish thought. Before she had noticed, she already stood by the door of the servant room. She lingered for a little bit longer, before opening it slowly. Kanan-kun? Her eyes scanned the servant room, but there was no one to be seen. She couldn't help but frown a little bit at the realization. After all, a murderer was walking free on the island, so she had to find him as soon as possible. With quiet footsteps, she made her way to the kitchen. There were some half-ready meals that had been abandoned halfway by Kora, who'd been notified about the incident and left them right away, but there were no signs of anyone else being there. Eventually, she found herself upstairs. She could spot the locked rooms of Kraus' study and the other guest rooms, where the corpses of the victims rested right now. After all, she was that had been requested to lock all the doors. I don't think that's a good sentence there. Of course, she hadn't been allowed to say her goodbye to George. With Eva being there, broken over the death of her son and husband, she had no right to approach the man and bid him goodbye. And all she could do was watch it from afar as she had closed the door and locked it. One of the doors on the second floor, however, was half opened. It was Jessica's room. There were no lights inside, but she could see the door wasn't closed properly. Kanon-kun? Was someone there? Was it Kanon or... Shannon inhaled deeply, raising her head as she approached the door, opening it with alarm. So you're here after all, Kanon-kun. The young servant sat on the edge of Jessica's bed. His head was hung down quietly until Shannon called his name, making him jump a little bit before he spotted the source of the voice. Ne-san, what are you doing here? I should ask you the same thing. It's unlike you to step into my lady's room like this, let alone sit on her bed without permission. So you know already. Yes. Kanon hugged his head down again, clenching his fists. I reached the second floor when I heard people crying. When I heard what you all talked about. I just couldn't bring myself to show myself and help. I'm a coward. You're not a coward, Kanon-kun. It's natural for you to avoid directly facing something like this. After all, it should have been me. Kanon uncharacteristically rose his voice in frustration, gritting his teeth, making Shannon recoil just a little bit. Instead of my lady, it should have been me. My lady should have lived. Kanon-kun, please, don't say something like this. You would have died for the sake of George-sama too, wouldn't you? Furniture like us can be sacrificed. We can be sacrificed and be disposed. But people like my lady and George-sama. Shannon slowly approached Kano and sat next to him. Small smile rose to her face, but her eyes were sad, lonely, and yet beautiful. If I am to think of what happens next, about the concept of the furniture that shall be disposed of, well, George and Jessica are dead, so truly, I guess you could say that Beatrice is indeed gonna dispose of these two furniture in a little bit right over here, if my bet is right.
Hey, Kanan-kun. Did you know? George-sama proposed to me yesterday evening.
You couldn't.
I was about to say yes. Because for that brief moment he showed the ring to me, I couldn't help but think that maybe I could leave this island and live a happy life with him. As a human. That's why I can't help but wonder if the reason he died is because of me. It's because I had such thoughts that I was punished with the loss of his life.
So even simply thinking of life as a human is a sin. I see. So that's how it is. Because we both longed to be human. My lady and George-sama have both died.
Kanan-kun, so you too.
Of course I did. I also wanted to be happy. I also had brief moments where I couldn't help but think that maybe I could live as a human. That maybe somewhere, somehow it's possible. But had I known it would lead to something like this, I would have never let myself think something like this. Shannon was looking at Kano before glancing away at the window without answering his words. The heavy rain made the view outside completely blurry, almost like it was crying for both their sakes. The sky was crying for their sakes, because neither of them could bring themselves to shed any tears for their lost ones. And then, Shannon smiled again, ready to face the other servant.
Hey, Kanan-kun, don't you think that in order to let their deaths be for nothing, perhaps we should try and live as humans from now on?
What are you saying?
George-sama, no. Georgie-san, he wanted me to live as a human. He wanted to take me out to this island and marry me. He saw me as a human and wanted to make me his wife. His sacrifice was already taken away. So perhaps, if the sacrifice was already taken, perhaps I should try and live as a human after all, as gratitude for him and his dreams. Perhaps you could do it for my lady too.
I could never do that. Kano shook his head strongly, feeling his throat dry. Jessica never wanted him to see himself as furniture. Her kindness and optimism always shone upon him, making him doubt even the strongest truth of all. Could he really do something like this? Live as a human as his way to show gratitude to her for everything she had given him? It was an absurd idea, but once again, he couldn't help but let the doubts reach his heart. After all, it would definitely be something my lady would have wanted. She was that kind of person. I want to see the blue ocean too. I want to be able to see the world the way she saw it.
It's not too late for us. We can still do it for their sakes, Kanan-kun. We are still here.
Do you really think that?
Yes, I truly believe it now. I am no longer furniture. I am human. And you are too, Kanon-kun.
I'm human.
Aww. To hear such filthy words coming out of a mouth that belongs to a lowly life like you is almost an insult.
The voice that spoke was familiar to both people in the room. Alright, I guess so. I guess we shall go through this. Sure brings me back. He made them both stand up at once as the room started filling with golden butterflies. Slowly, the silhouette of the speaker formed in front of them.
Well, it looks like you're starting to have some delusional ideas. Know your place, furniture.
Uh-oh. You. How dare you?
Kanon-kun. Live for their sakes? Live as humans? Your sense of humor sure is interesting. It's your fault they died. I thought killing them would teach you a lesson for your arrogance. But it looks like it gave you the opposite idea. Oh, just how amusing is that?
I cannot forgive you. I could never forgive you for killing them. If you wanted to punish us, then you should have come to us directly. You coward!
Kanon-kun and I have already made our choices. From now on, we'll live as humans. You cannot change our mind anymore, Pietro-sama.
The pair stood still in front of the witch, who only became more and more amused by the two's words. Despite their words, the only thing she could see were two pitiful pieces of furniture, pretending to be human.
Enough with the jokes. Have you forgotten what you're so fast?
Have you forgotten what you're so fast? Maybe it's, have you forgotten it this fast?
When was the last time you looked in the mirror? Your furniture. Furniture. You should be grateful I'm dismissing you from your hard work now. You pitiful witch who knows no love. The love between me and George-san cannot be torn by something as trivial as death. I will not allow someone like you to defile it. Defile it? Don't make me laugh. You didn't even get the chance to show him you accepted his love, did you? George died without ever knowing it. But on the other hand, he died before realizing how low and impure you are. Maybe he died with a broken heart, thinking you might have rejected him. But he will never know I actually did him a favor by killing him before he could show him your real form. You furniture! Maybe you hadn't considered doing something as stupid as accepting his love. I would have spared his life. But for furniture like you to talk like this, you really piss me off. Furniture! Furniture! Trash!
Don't you dare talk to Ne-san like this. Kano stepped between the two women as Beatrice dissolved into butterflies, away from him. His face twisted in anger, making Beatrice's shrill laughter echo through the room.
What is it, Kano? Weren't you the one who didn't show any affection to your beloved even once? You thought that keeping it to yourself would excuse you from the burden, but the sin was still within your heart. The sin of loving a human when you're just furniture. Even though you knew you weren't allowed to do so, you kept yearning for it. Come on, admit it. I know everything. You loved Jessica too, right? So much for Kinzo's excellent furniture. You're both infected with these ideas that you're worthy of love.
The witch waved her hand, and the room filled with butterflies again, as a silhouette of a goat butler started to form by her side. Alright. Man, to think that I was anxious of this, like, demon goat the first time that we encountered him in episode 2. Whew. It stood motionless, a perfect furniture, waiting for an order from its master. Ah yeah, that's right. In this version, they're not like, they're not built like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure characters. Lots of muscles. The roulette has chosen the two of you as sacrifices for the second twilight. Isn't it touching? The roulette has acknowledged your siblingship as a genuine bond between two close beings that should be separated. Aren't you happy? You should be happy. We cannot die. After all, we need to live on as humans for the sake of George-san and my lady. Every moment I live as a human is for his sake. Again with this human talk. Stop deluding yourself with this nonsense. Your happy life with George-san, your happy life with George was nothing but delusion. I did you a favor by not letting you discover it for yourself. You are given a confession and you're still greedy for more? Prideful, greedy, lustful. Ah! You really have the worst traits women can have. How disgusting! Living with your sins is part of what being human is. I will shoulder these sins in order to live on. I will live on in order to be capable of burdening these sins. I've had enough listening to you. Die, you furniture! Alright. The demonic goat that dashed forward was countered by another force. Incapable of keeping the pace, he was cut down. Alright. I will not let you kill us. We will not lose against you. Avocano's arm was now a long blade that had managed to cut the goat butler in one clean cut. That was the power of Kinzo's furniture. I see. Yeah, you know what? You are right. We shouldn't be dwelling with such weaklings like the way we used to at the beginning. I think we really should go for the stronger weapons, like right away. You were right. It looks like you won't give me an easy time, and you're here to entertain me for a little bit longer. Yes, I see now. A bond between siblings is truly an interesting choice as the sacrifices for the second twilight. And I really can't wait to tear you to pieces. Come, rise, the seven sisters of Purgatory. Lucifer, Leviathan, Satan, Belphegor, Mammon, Beelzebub, and Asmodeus. As Beatrice spoke, something started flying in the room at such speed that normal humans couldn't follow, along with the demonic laughter that filled the space around them. One by one, the witch's furniture formed themselves in the room. Hello, girls.
Eh? Beatrice-sama, you brought all of us here just for 2 sacrifices? It just means I'll have to be the fastest to have my share this time. Don't be fooled, my girls. These two are Kinzo's excellent furniture. They've been defiled by impure, sinful thoughts, but they're still very strong. Separating two siblings with 7 siblings? How ironic is that? Then all that's left is finishing the job.
Oh boy. Alright. Shannon, use a shield!
You cannot hurt us that easily, servant of the witch. So much for an elder sister. You wanted to prove yourself so much but just ended up embarrassing yourself. I wasn't embarrassing myself. Someone had to attack first and expose the enemy's tactics. Now I'll be able to break through.
Around Shannon Cannon was this divine barrier that protected the both of them. Shannon's hands extended forward in order to keep the barrier intact, her eyes scanning their enemies. Shannon's iconic imagery, folks.
Kanan-kun.
I know. I will not be arrogant. I will take them carefully, one by one. This is for their sakes, after all.
Kill them! 7 sisters of Purgatory!
Alright. I mean, how much are they gonna survive this time around? The stakes attempted to break through Shannon's barrier, banging against it endlessly. But no matter how many times they hit against it, the barrier did not even crack. That was until suddenly.
What?
Without any warning, the barrier disappeared for a few moments and returned. Satan, who had been hitting against the barrier aimlessly up until then, was now locked in sight, flying in a direct route towards Kanon's blade. Oh! Oh! Kanon yelled as he cut the witch's furniture. The girl cried in agony and disappeared in a burst of butterflies, appearing outside once again. Once again, holding onto her injured body with a pathetic expression. How dare you? That was a good strategy, not gonna lie. Also, you may have heard like a sound there, my bad.
How dare you to fool me like this with such a cheap trick? How dare you!
Don't hit aimlessly. Be ready for the barrier to be removed at unexpected times. They're trying to tear us apart and deal with us one by one. Exhaust them until they can no longer stand.
Yes, One-sama.
Perfect timing as usual, Nissan.
I had full trust that you could handle it, Kanan-kun.
The next round is coming. Both Shannon and Kanon moved in perfect sync, as if sharing consciousness for that brief moment. However, they were no longer the only ones who moved in sync. The messy attacks from the sisters became more and more calculated, yet harder to follow. Uh-oh. When Shannon removed the barrier, she believed she had managed to trap only a single stake inside. But as soon as Kanon raised his arm to attack, he was grazed by another stake, causing his arm to start bleeding. Uh-oh.
Nice save, Mamon. I knew you'd slack off with your aim, so I made sure to follow. That girl is mine. I'll be the one to kill her. Kanan-kun, your arm.
As if something like this can stop us.
Give up already. Sooner or later, you'll die by my hands. You already proved your point. Die! Drop dead! Scum! Trash! Die already!
The attacks kept on coming, not letting the two catch their breath for a single moment. As they kept going, Both Shannon and Kanon were soon completely covered in injuries and cuts. They kept holding up, fighting, but they both knew the end was coming. Nessa, thank you. Thanks to your words, I can think of myself as human, even if it was only for a short time.
Kanan-kun, thank you for being here with me and for being my brother. You were always there for me when I had it rough. You're always by my side. Thank you.
You had a good fight, kids. You had a good fight.
I must admit, I didn't expect them to put up that much of a fight.
Beatrice inhaled from her pipe. On the floor by her legs were the bodies of Shannon and Kanon, motionless. Both of them had stakes piercing their hearts. Mammon of greed for Shannon, and Belphegor of sloth for Kanon.
Unfortunately, despite your show, I cannot allow you to stay together. After all, I promise to tear you apart to pieces. I think I'll make the lovely members of the Ushimiya family run around a little bit once again. Now, where should I put you?
The witch inhaled from her pipe again, and as she exhaled, the smoke wrapped around Kanon's corpse, and he disappeared from sight, leaving Shannon by herself.
That should do. It's time for another game of tag. Would you run around for me again, Ushimiya Batora?
Alright. Banner's face was hard to read. There seemed to be a lot of suppressed emotions within him, but he refused to show it on his face this time. Eventually, he went inside, standing up. I'm going to take a break.
Huh? A break? Now?
Watching your gross shenanigans tired me out. I need a break from seeing your face.
Well, you can't just leave. I just finished the second Twilight. There's so much to do here.
Then wait patiently until I'm back. With these words, Banner stood up and left the room, leaving Beatrice by herself, along with Virgilius, who just smiled. Well, if the game is paused, I shall also be taking a break. Now, if you'd excuse me. With a smile still on his face, Virgilius bowed politely and left the room as well.
You can't just leave. Are you really leaving me here all by myself just like this?
You know, it does remind me, because, you know, at some point in, like, the question arc, Beryl was, like, seeing all this death happening. I don't remember specifically how it went, but nonetheless, at some point, Beatrice was crying that Beryl was so done with all this, and then she cried to Virgilia at some point. Beatrice had a shoulder to cry on when stuff was doing bad, but right now, Virgilia is not here. Unless she's gonna make an interest at some point. Again, story-wise, it doesn't really have to conflict with Virgilius' existence. Like, that and Ronoe has not been introduced yet, so... I don't know. Beatrice glanced around, pouting. It really isn't fun when there isn't an audience for what she does, after all. So that's where you were, Better-san. Ryu. Better, who had just been sitting in the rainy garden by himself, staring blankly at the sky, was greeted by Virgilius' smiling face. The man lingered before sitting down by the table, leaning back with a sigh. You had it quite rough there, didn't you? Not to sound too blunt, but you're not very good at hiding your emotions. You wear them all over your face. I tried so hard to keep it cool, and I still can't pull it off. You're really far ahead of me, Ryu. Beller chuckled bitterly, but Virgilius only shook his head. Man, it's really interesting seeing this difference between Erika and Virgilius. Now, granted, it could very well be possible that at some point, Virgilius is still gonna show his true colors, making, Beller even more sad that Virgilius is that kind of person. But pretending that that's not gonna happen, or maybe it's not gonna happen, truly, Virgilius has been quite a decent friend right over here to Beller over here. It's quite something, fighting together and laughing, talking to each other and laughing, and now being here for possibly emotional support and all. Not at all. That is your family over there. You said it yourself. I am a mere stranger who reached this place by sheer misfortune and coincidence. It's only rational that I could keep calmer than you. Still, you're quite amazing. I can't tell what you're thinking at all, and Beto is getting so annoyed that she can't get to you at all. I wish I could do it too. Is it really that amazing though? Doesn't it just come off as emotionless? It's just so honest, it almost makes me emotional myself. While people like me can lie to someone's face without batting an eye. You're a good person. Eh? Oh, what's with this? That's embarrassing. I don't think I did something to earn the title of a good person. I can just tell. It's hard to miss, if you ask me. Better, son. You are definitely a good person. Still, you're also pretty awesome yourself, with how you always manage to soothe over these situations. Unless... doing an evil motion with my fingers right over here and twirling my mustache, like my metaphorical mustache right over here. Maybe we're going for a romantic thing going right here. Maybe this is gonna all end up in a yaoi kind of ending between Virgilius and Beller. Okay. You do it so smoothly. Even after people die, you manage to make everyone calm down, I think, rationally. I have a simple objective after all. I want to live, and I want to win. I will do everything I can do to win. The end justifies the means. So if throwing away my emotions will raise my chances to win this game, so be it. God damn. If the witch gets through to me, I'll start hesitating, and that will affect the way I see things. That's why I must stay like this. I can't say it's not tiring or taking a toll on me either, though. Virgilius sank tiredly into his chair, stretching his legs out. Man, thinking of Virgilius right over here and how he acts, that he wants to go through this in order to win and to escape, and him not liking this, right here, he has to put on this face in order to win against the witch and all that. It really makes quite a difference between him and Erika, because at the end of the day, Virgilius, this is the meta right over here. It could very well be that Virgilius died too, and, well, Ben Costello decided to create Virgilius right over here. From Virgilius's actual death, out there in the ocean, in similar fashion to Erika. Virgilius right over here, he has been thrust into this game by Ben Costello to fight against, Beatrice, in this weird situation where he has little to no connection, as far as I can see. But then again, we have the man from 19 years ago, connection right over there. But nonetheless, he has been put in this situation to fight. Whereas with Erika, she couldn't give a rat's ass about like winning against Beatrice because of her past life. Like throughout the entirety of it, like besides like that thing with the ex-boyfriend and all that, besides that, like she was really into this new life of hers of trying to win the game against Bella and Beatrice for the sake of Ben Castel. She has led her past life just so that she would serve under Ben Castel for the rest of her life, to be noticed by Ben Castel. Whereas here, you kind of get that feeling that he's going through something of the sorts that Better is going through. But I don't know, maybe this is just me. I don't know. Like, there is a clear contrast between Vergilius and Erika that I just cannot put my finger on exactly. I didn't really think about it, you know. It must be frustrating. You're stuck with my bizarre family on an island. Now need to deal with a weird murder case. Yeah, true. And definitely. I guess I can at least be happy my sister got away with it. Your sister got away with it? She was supposed to be with me on the cruise today, but then she changed her mind at the last moment. Oh. Wait, so it wasn't that the both of you... Wait, was it only my idea, or did I thought that both of them went on the cruise ship? Like, at some point the story said that both of them went on the... No, it was like the meta narrative. Like, no. It was Toya and Ikuku who talked about both of them being on the same ship. But here in the story, they may have rewrote it, like, completely differently. That or Vergilius is lying. But if I'm to trust Vergilius right over here, I guess so. Maybe she decided to stay home, I guess. We were already on our way to the deck when she decided she didn't feel like it, and that I should go by myself. She plays it tough, but she's quite stubborn, so I always end up being the bridge between her and our parents, which makes me feel obligated to go back. I'm afraid that if I'm not around, she just won't bother going back home. Oh wow. That's quite rough. But I can't really say anything, considering I was the black sheep in my family. I left it when I was only a middle schooler, after my mom died. And kept on with the hostility for quite a long time, even when it wasn't really needed anymore. In my case, it was my little sister that brought us together, you could say. So I guess you have to make your way back to her, right? Yeah, that's right. I didn't really get to be there as a big brother. So once I'm out of here, I need to go back and make up for these lost 6 years. The question is, does Vergilius think this way as well? Because it does seem that he cares deeply about her, like his sister and all that, so you would assume that if the chance is there for Vergilius to escape, he will want to go back too. At least, I'll be around when she gets into her rebellious stage like yours, and back her up. Or maybe she won't be as stubborn and prideful as mine. I love her, but she can be insufferable at times. How interesting. You should let me meet her once. Trust me, you don't want to. I bet that if you meet her, you'll definitely regret it. Well, it makes me want to meet her more. I bet you're just slutting her name and she's actually super cute. I'll need to be careful, considering she has a big brother to protect her. I'm pretty sure her personality will defend her from you on... I'm pretty sure her personality will defend her from you on its own. Oh, mean Ryu. The two laughed lightly, sharing that little moment together. For the two men to talk about their families, and about their wish to return to the younger sibling waiting for them. It was truly a moment where the two couldn't understand each other, like a common thing that connected them, allowing them to communicate just a little better.